this way. So this is the agenda for today's meeting. We have some news to share. We'll be actually discussing the release notes about some minor changes or improvements we added to the platform. And the main dish is this training for how to build your newsletters. And then obviously discussion. We are always happy to hear from you. So let's get started. Reminders first. Today is August 21st, 2024. There is another webinar next week with V2V on August 28th at the same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. That V2V webinar is a Q&A webinar. Today is essentially us making announcements and distributing information, but next week is you're leading the charge and basically asking your questions. Will be there to answer your questions. I put some question marks about the Helpful Village release webinar in September because it's in the middle of the National Villages Conference. So probably we need to find another date or just cancel this one and we meet in October. I don't know, but I don't know. It's what we do for the Helpful Village release webinar in September. We just meet at the conference. That can work too. There's a few links that are useful here about the training docs, how to find the Helpful Village Support Center, and Slack, which is the collaborative website where you can ask questions to us, but also to other villages. So all of those are very valuable resources. Quick reminder also to let you know that we are happy to take your questions at the webinar next week. But if you can send your questions ahead of time to our national coordinator, Gary Frankel, he always helps us basically put those questions in order, make sure that everyone gets the attention that they need and deserve. So basically, if you can send your questions ahead of time to hvusers@v2vnetwork.org, that email will go to Gary, and Gary coordinates with us to put the questions in the right order and help us think ahead of time about the best answers to your questions. Okay, now we move on to news. What's news? It's news that happened this month. First of all, and you might be aware of this, but it needs to be said, we put all of our customers on new servers this month. So it's kind of funny because you still see your website very similar to what they were before, but we have done a tremendous amount of work installing new servers for all of our customers, getting a new versions of the server operating system, the libraries we use. Sometimes these libraries that we use or reuse, they have changes in the way the syntax or the language or the way they need to be used. So we had to do some adjustments of our code. So that's why you saw some things like, well, the profile pictures were not displaying for a while, and then we fixed that, etc. So it's just usually these quick fixes when there is a server upgrade, but just to let you know why, some of these things were happening. We're still monitoring and fine-tuning some of these new servers. I know we have one server in particular that it seems to be overloaded. So if you are experiencing, I think it's in particular one server that is having this timeout message or something, well, let us know, and we are taking care of that and configuring the servers and doing some fine-tuning. So it's still normal if you see some instability in some of the servers. It's gonna get better with just, finishing the work on the server side. I have news also about new training docs I wanted to let you know about. In addition to the server upgrades, we have been working on these three training documents related to Mailchimp, actually. And Mailchimp is the tool we will be discussing today, so I thought it was relevant to let you know about these training documents. All of these documents are available in the Help Center. So if you go online to support.helpfulvillage.com and you search them, you will find them. But basically, we describe more precisely how to resubscribe a person that unsubscribed from Mailchimp. So basically, they received an email from Mailchimp and then they decided they didn't want to, they unsubscribed involuntarily or sometimes voluntarily, but they want to be back on it. Well, this training document explaining you how to do so. We are also detailing how to create a Mailchimp resubscribe sign-up form for those that have done it before. It's referenced in the first training documents. I'm not going to explain what it is, but it's that is just three documents that are explaining three different ways to resubscribe people that got off that unsubscribed accidentally or involuntarily or changed their mind and they want to be resubscribed. There are new training documents explaining all of this. There are interesting events that are coming up soon. So there is a California Village Movement California conference that is taking place next month, September 12th and 13th. It's actually really nice because the conference is going to be taking place in La Jolla, California, which is about 20 minutes from where I live. So I can take the bus and attend the conference. That doesn't happen very often. For those that are nearby, obviously, it would be a pleasure to meet you there. Helpful Village is sponsoring the conference, and we'll be there, in person. So it's always a pleasure to meet our villages if they can make it to the conference. But it's not the only conference because there is another conference in September, and this is the National Village to Village Network Conference that is taking place on September 25th and 26th. This one is a virtual conference. I'm sure you know about this because the network must have sent you a message. But we will be presenting at the conference as we do every year. We're also sponsors of the conference. We think it's a great resource for villages to learn about things that other villages are doing. We also would like to invite you to come to our presentation because this year we want to make a different type of presentation. Um, we're not going to be presenting kind of the beginner's view of Helpful Village. I thought that was not interesting enough. We will actually do a presentation about what the best villages are doing with Helpful Village, the best practices. So if you're already a customer, I think you should still come to our presentation because it's going to show you things that we like or recommendations about villages that are using Helpful Village in special ways. So yeah, it could be interesting to come to our presentation also during the conference. These are some general news, but I thought it was relevant. But yesterday, unfortunately, Maria Branias Morera died. And it's interesting because this lady, well, she was 117. She was the oldest person in the world. And she happened to come from Spain, actually. And she died peacefully in her sleep. Um, but 117, I thought that was a quite interesting number. And I have another article to share with you if you want to read about this. But in my opinion, I mean, well, you all know that I come from Spain, and I'm interested as a researcher also in knowing if maybe there's something special about Spain that helps also with longevity and healthy aging. And there's this other article that I found interesting. It's a Spanish village that is seeking UNESCO World Heritage status about this thing that happens naturally in Spain. Just people just put chairs outside their houses. This happens also where my mom lives. Just people start talking and discussing and having these social interactions. And I thought it was relevant to our group because this is also what you do as a village, right? Create these social connections and engagement with your members, maybe not with a chair on the street, but in a similar way. And I think these social interactions are a huge driver of healthy aging and longevity. So maybe Maria, she lived that long because she found the village movement spirit. Anyways, those are just resources and things for your research. But now if we come back to our webinar, this is also a reminder. If you don't know about the Help Center, you should go to support.helpfulvillage.com. It's where you find all the training documents, including the ones that I mentioned before. And on the top right, there is a submit a request. That's how you interact with our support team. You can ask your questions, submit your tickets, and if we need to help you with something you're trying to do. And then there are two different websites. If you go to support.helpfulvillage to support bugs or tasks or things that you're trying to do when you're in trouble. But there is a different page for improvement ideas. So that's kind of new features. You can go to ask.helpfulvillage.com to submit your ideas there. Okay, that's good. Now we're moving on. So the next phase of the webinar is the release notes, some changes and improvements that have been added to the software this month. The first one is on the events calendar. So we have a before and after picture here. But if you look at your event calendar, there were the buttons on the top right, right? There used to be black arrows and the label of saying today, it was black over a dark color, which was not very visible. So we received a request from a village if it was possible to change those colors and basically have the white labels and white arrows on top of the dark buttons. And we did that. So now those it's easier to navigate in our events calendar. We added this other change. This is in the pay tab for a person. So as you know, you can now produce invoices if you need to charge your members for additional services. And you have a list of invoices that existed before. The new thing is that we are also now calculating this additional number there at the top, which is the current balance, because you can have multiple invoices. But if you want to have an idea of how much money this member owes, well, now we do this calculation for you so that it makes it easier for you. Now, number 3, This one is interesting. Like we changed the setting for the links and resources for any page, but there was this thing when you were creating your website pages and you were linking out to a PDF document. Before we had some sort of a security exception that could be raised if because we were taking you from Helpful Village to Amazon, etc., or something like that. And we are trying a new configuration. If you have tried this in the past and it was not working for you, you might want to give it a try, in particular to this opening a new window. So for our villages that have been with us for a while, they know that if they were doing an opening a new window link, they would be blocked by our security because could be threatening. But we're trying something else. If you can try, we can trust basically the Amazon bucket of your village. So basically, this opening a new window capability of the link editor is should be working now. So you can give it a try if you wanna use it. There is a new field in the payments tab. So you can enter payments in Helpful Village, right? Payment for anything, for tickets, for anything like that. That existed before, and we have different fields. We had purpose, amount, the method that was used to pay, to make that payment, the status of that payment. We added a new field there because, again, talking with a village, we realized that it would be useful for a village if we allow you to add some notes about that payment, something that the village staff thinks is relevant to add. So there is a new field there that is called admin notes. That you can use, right, and edit if you want to make some notes about a payment that was made. Maybe this payment happened and it was, I mean, you want to remember something about that, you can record that on the payments object now. Okay, so that's for new features. Now we're moving on to the newsletters training. If everyone's ready, we can get started. First, when we're sending the newsletter, right, we're going to be using Mailchimp. And Mailchimp is this third-party tool that we recommend using because they're very good at distributing emails in mass, right, to a large group of people. So you can connect your Mailchimp account with Helpful Village. Actually, you should connect your Helpful Village with your Mailchimp account. There is a process in the Help Center that is not discussed today that shows you how to create a key that will allow our server to discuss with you. Once we connect your Mailchimp account with Helpful Village, you can look up people in your database, right? And then there is this very important checkbox on the general tab that is called Mailchimp. So that's how you choose if a person should be included in your distribution list, in your mailing list, right? If it should be synchronized with Mailchimp, that checkbox there needs to be checked.
Manuel,
Yes.
are you still thinking with MailChimp only on Thursdays?
We're thinking on Thursday is a good question. Yes, we're thinking on Thursday night. And so there is an automatic sync with Mailchimp that happens Thursday night without you doing anything. We're going to do that for you. You can also go, I think it's the next slide that is saying that, and request synchronization with Mailchimp anytime you want. If you want to synchronize a person or a group, you can always go to that group, hit synchronize with Mailchimp, but it will happen manually at that time. So yes, we do automatically once a week. You can do manually anytime you want.
And Manuel, which group gets the newsletters email?
It's a good question. So the newsletter email, there's more than one way, right? There is something that we call the Sunday email that sometimes some people call it the newsletter, right? That one goes automatically on Sundays, and we add there the list of events that are taking place in the next 2 weeks. And that one is a mailing list group that is called events. Is the one where we add. So basically, the one where we send events. Now, if you want to send your newsletter separately, right, with not on Sunday, not at that time, well, you can send your newsletter to any group you want, including to the tag called Mailchimp, and that would send your newsletter to everyone on Mailchimp. You see what I'm saying? So if you want to, those people interested in events on the Sunday email needs to be on the events mailing list group. If you want to send to any other group, you can. It's a good question, Gary.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
let's keep going. So this once connected Mailchimp checkbox on the yeah, you need to make sure you check the Mailchimp checkbox. Another thing to check is that if this person has a valid email address, 'cause sometimes, if they don't have an email address, obviously we're not going to sync them with Mailchimp. Okay, now how does this synchronization works between Helpful Village and Mailchimp? If you look at the top, at the title of this slide, you will see that there is an arrow, and the arrow clearly goes from Helpful Village to Mailchimp. So you need to know that we're synchronizing two different databases, right? But now the synchronization goes in one direction more than the other. What I mean is that if you have a new member that joined your organization, you should add it to the Helpful Village database. You should add the membership information, right? And then Helpful Village will do the work to synchronize it with Mailchimp. Sometimes it happens to us that someone has gone into Mailchimp, add a new contact into Mailchimp, and somehow they hope that it's going to get into Helpful Village. It doesn't work that way. We don't, you see what I'm saying? The synchronization goes from Helpful Village to Mailchimp when you're adding a new person. And then the other thing that I'm saying here, already told to Diane, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Okay, so imagine that you have a new person, right, that is signing up for your village. What do you need to do? Well, you go to Helpful Village, you add the person in Helpful Village, you make sure that the Mailchimp checkbox is checked if they accept it to be on your mailing list, right? And then you can add them to the right groups. And the groups is something you can do in different ways. If this person is a new member, right, and he's an active member with an expiration date and stuff like that, you just enter the membership information. And then we already know he's in the group of active members because we have the membership information for them. And there are other groups that are more manual, right? All the tags that you can create, you can go to the tag people groups, and you can create a group of anything. You see what I'm saying? People that any tag you want to create and put people in it, you can create a tag and then basically put any person in that group if you want them to be part of that group and receive the notifications for that group. Again, as I said before, if you add a person on Mailchimp, Helpful Village will delete it because we don't know who that person is. So basically, again, make sure that you add the people on Helpful Village and Helpful Village will synchronize that information with Mailchimp. Okay, now we're done with synchronizing because there are several steps when you're sending your messages out, right? The first one is the mailing list, the contacts, right? So that's what I was calling synchronizing, is just making sure that you have the same people, the recipients on Helpful Village make it to Mailchimp. Now, synchronizing is very important that you do it on Helpful Village, that you add your people on Helpful Village and you sync to Mailchimp. That needs to happen on Helpful Village. If it doesn't happen on Helpful Village, we're in trouble because we're not gonna know about that person, we're not gonna receive the message, etc. So the syncing of the contact list, super important that you do that on Helpful Village. Now, the second step that is composing the message, right? Here, it's not important to do it on Helpful Village. Actually, there are two options. You can compose the message. You have two options. Actually, I'm going to start with the second option on this slide. It's like you can compose the message on Helpful Village, right? And send it from the email messenger in Helpful Village, and it will messenger in Helpful Village will talk to Mailchimp to send that message out. That's a way where you can use the email messenger on Helpful Village to write your message and send it out. But there is another method you can use, is that you can compose the message on Mailchimp and send the message from Mailchimp, right? And I don't mind if you do it. As I said before, syncing, adding your contact list to Mailchimp, we do not recommend. Composing your message from Mailchimp, we do recommend, actually. Because the difference is that if you have the contact list synchronization, right, we don't want you to be doing the work twice on Helpful Village. You need to add the person, then go to Mailchimp and add the person again and stuff like that. So that would be double data entry. But composing the message is not double data entry. It's like you can choose if you do it here or there. Now, during the training today, we're going to be showing both options, right? And what are the advantages and drawbacks of each one of these options. So these are the advantages and drawbacks. And then I'm going to show you also on the product so that you can see how I do it. And so this is a live demo I'm going to do in a minute. So now, if you're composing the messages from Helpful Village, the advantage of this is that, well, you don't need to log into Mailchimp because you can type the message onto Helpful Village email messenger, you hit send, and Helpful Village will contact Mailchimp, will ask Mailchimp to send the messages out, and basically you don't need to log on to a separate system. So in a way, that's a little easier. By the way, I see that there is some conversation on the chat, which is great, right? But also you need to know that I'm not reading the chat when I'm talking. That's a little bit too much stuff for me. So if there is something you want me to answer and that is on the chat, just, please unmute yourself and ask the questions. I'm happy to take the question. Let's keep going with the advantages of composing the message in Helpful Village. Well, the message is recording on Helpful Village. You have the email messenger, right? So you have a record of the message that was written in Helpful Village. Now the drawbacks is that the message content editor, right, is where you compose the message, you add the text and the image. Is not as easy to use as in Mailchimp, right? And this is a big one, actually. I think you will see, but we recommend actually you compose your messages in Mailchimp just because the message editor that we have is convenient for simple messages, right? Because you can write text in one column and add pictures, etc. But Mailchimp, Helpful Village is a software that does 20 different modules for villages, right? Membership management, people management, all of these other things. But Mailchimp only does one thing, really, which is composing these emails. So they have an editor that is specialized and is easier to use to compose the message. So in the end, I think it's easier to use. I mean, you can use any of the both options. But me personally, I would recommend using Mailchimp to compose the message. Okay, and now I have a similar slide, but for Mailchimp, and then I go into the demo site. Now, if you want to send your messages from Mailchimp, the advantage is that you have a drag and drop editor that is easier to use. If you want to put the picture here, the text there, and stuff like that, all of that is it's just easier with it when you're composing the message. If you're using the editor in Helpful Village for even for the website, it's easy to change the pictures and text, but it's a little harder to align things and put things on the right, on the left, and it's not a drag and drop editor. Now, drawback on Mailchimp is that sometimes if you want to do something special with the selection of the recipients, right? What they call segments, is more complicated. You can send a message in Mailchimp. And I'm gonna show this. You can send a message to your whole list, and that is very easy. But they offer you a complicated way to do this segmentation, which would be, okay, I want to send an email to all the members that are not volunteers, but that are also in the prospective donors group. So you can create a kind of a complicated query of recipients to make sure you're sending your message to the right people. In most cases, you don't do this. Most villages will send the Mailchimp either to the general list or to one tag, and that's easy enough. So it's not too bad of a drawback in general. And also it can be powerful if you want to do really some complicated segmentation. And in the end, we recommend this method actually. I'm going to show both methods because some people prefer one or the other. But it's just composing a Mailchimp newsletter is just easier with the editor. I'm gonna show that on right now. Okay, let me I need to switch my windows. Actually, not even Windows. I just need to come here. Okay. Okay, is everyone with me? If you have questions, I'm happy to take the questions right away. If you don't have questions, it's fine because I'm gonna show you how to do this. First, I'm gonna go here, settings. And then if you go to settings, you will see that you have, these different things, website, contact, membership, events, and stuff like that. But here for the website components, there are these three things that are interesting. This is for managing the manager, the menu manager, which is the menu up here, the editable pages, the pages on your website. And these web templates are kind of graphic elements you can reuse either on your website pages or on your email messenger. So I'm going to go here into web templates. And one thing I did ahead of time today is like, well, you see here different templates. You can define a footer, a header, and different things you can reuse. You also have graphic templates here that are offered to you. The Helpful Village template with 2 columns, with 3 columns, with pictures. So these are graphic elements. Except now something that is interesting is that these templates are templates that are designed for the website because the website has these other style sheet and other resources that are available on the website, other styling resources that are used by these templates. So if you use these for your emails, it will not look good. So you cannot use that one. I created a dedicated email template, which is called the HV newsletter template, right? I'm going to show it to you like this. I came into web templates, I created a newsletter template, and I created a message, which is a header. I put a logo here, but obviously you could edit this template and add the logo of your village, and then have a design of a page, right, or a message, like with this web template, with a picture, with a text and stuff like that. It's kind of you're choosing a template with a given structure that you might want to use for your future newsletter. So this is the one I have. I want to show you another one because there is something similar. So there's this other village, Northwest Neighbors, and they have also spent a lot of time preparing their newsletter. And I don't know if they're on the call, but I want to show you how they do it. So basically they go here, events list. When you're sending your Sunday emails, right, with their newsletter, and we put the emails below that, is something they can do here. You can go to the bottom. And you have this edit intro text for weekly email. So this is the weekly email that you can compose also. If you want to send the automatic
Bingo game.
message that goes out on Sundays, you prepare it here. So these Northwest Neighbors, this is a real village, right? And they spend some time working on this Sunday email. So it's similar to the approach I was saying before. They created their template with their logo, their name, their columns, one column, second column, and stuff like that, right? And then they put some content here that is ready to go out on Sunday to the events mailing list. You see what I'm saying? So they did a good job preparing this. And this is definitely one good way to do it. Now, what I was saying before, and I'm not just gonna show you this one that they do, but I'm gonna go back to demo now. Because now I want to show you how the editor is. So this editor, right, is very easy if you want to change some language here. Look at this. If my mother Elda started her very own vineyard into the etc. If you want to change the picture, it's very easy. Also, I can come here and replace the picture with something else and I'm uploading, etc. All of that is good. But now if you're here, you want to start moving stuff around, it's a lot harder to basically understand what the editor, how it's coping with it. So every time you need to do alignments or stuff like that, it's going to be more complicated if you do it on Helpful Village. It's possible, Northwest Neighbors did a great job with that, but it's kind of the editor is a little bit touchy if you're moving stuff around. Okay, anyways, I showed you how they do it. I'm showing this one that I didn't put as much time, but it's kind of an email template that exists. And now the next thing that I'm going to do is just leave this web template alone. I'm going to come here to the admin email messenger, right? And then if I want to, so we're doing two different things. The email that I showed you, right, is the automatic email that goes out automatically. It's going to pull from events list. So you would need to put your content, as I showed you before, here into this edit intro for weekly email. And then you put whatever HTML you want here, right? And then it's going to go out on Sunday automatically to the events mailing list. But now what I'm demonstrating now is something different. It's like I don't want to wait until Sunday. I want to send my message right away to whoever I want, right? So I can come here to my list of emails, email messenger, right? I go into new email. And then this is the email messenger in Helpful Village. The first thing we can do here is choose who are we sending the message to, right? So you can come here with the different groups, and then I want to send it, for example, if I want to send it to my volunteer service, to my drivers, you can send an email to your drivers. If you want to send an email to Village Builder volunteers, you can do that. Mailing list contains some of the automatic groups that are calculated for you. So the active members, the active volunteers, the events, organization, prospective donors. It's a newsletter. Actually, it's not true. It's not there. Now, if you want to send it to the whole mailing list, you don't choose mailing list, you choose tag people, and then here you have your different tags. I have the Mailchimp tag. This is the whole Mailchimp list that we have. And then you have other groups. If we created a tag, right, for the Great Friends group or the Test HV support team, etc., you can choose to send to a tag that you created in Helpful Village, or you can, if you choose this one, it's going to send to everyone in our mailing list. For now, I'm going to just choose this. Okay, then here you choose a title for your newsletter, and this could be newsletter. Village Amigos. The title is important because it's the title here, right, for your message, but it's also the title that's going to show up in your people's inbox. I mean, your audience inbox. Newsletter, August 2024. Okay. Now, going to the editor, right, and composing an email. So this is what I was saying. This editor is very good if I want to do something simple. Hello, and then write just, a simple text. If you want to send a quick text to your volunteers, I would definitely do it like this, right? But here is not a simple email, it's a newsletter that is a little bit more complicated. So we can create a one-off, but what I would recommend is go here into insert, choose the insert template. And from the template, you go and choose and reuse the template that we saw before, the HV newsletter template, right? And when you do that, it's going to copy here the content of this template. So now we have oh God. Sorry, let me delete that. This actually had added the hello, but that was, causing problems. So I'm gonna insert template. I'm gonna do that again. Okay, so this is better. So now we copied the content of the template here. So it left the template where it was before, and now this is This is where I can customize my newsletter and say, amigos, Village, August 24. And then I could come here and I can change this text and I can potentially come in here, replace the image with something that applies to this month's work, etc., and then compose the message, etc. And then at the end of the day, just come down here and send the email. So here I have two choices. If you're sending your newsletter to everybody, I would choose Mailchimp. In this case, I don't want to send to 1,000 people we have in our mailing list. Just want to send to our support team. So I will choose this smaller group. And then at the end, I just come here and hit send.
So Manuel, I have a question. On the weekly events
Mhm.
email that goes out that
Mhm.
uses the events mailing list, can
Yes.
you change that to the Mailchimp mailing list?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Because basically what happens is a very good question. So let me show that. People management groups. So if we go to groups, right? People management groups. These are similar groups that the email messenger is sending the messages to, right? But this is basically where you create the groups and you put people in groups. So basically, if you go down here, you have your volunteer groups, you have village builder groups, you have tag people, you have the mailing list with the active members and stuff like that. Now, for example, if I have active members, let me open this one. Here, you'll see you cannot add people here for a good reason because we put people in active members automatically for you based on their membership information, right? So this is kind of an automatic group that exists there for you. Now, if you go to tag people here in Mailchimp here, this one is a very important one. Under tag people, Mailchimp is a very important one. It's going to show everyone in your database that has the Mailchimp checkbox checked, okay? So basically, this the bigger group you can send messages to with Mailchimp, right? This is everyone that you have synchronized with Mailchimp. But basically, what happened is that if you go here to go back, then the thing is like, what happens if you have somebody that came and then said, well, the thing is like, I want to be on your Mailchimp list, but the Sunday email with the events, I'm not interested in that one, so I want to be removed from that one. So we created a separate group that is called events, and here you can choose if you want to add or remove people from this group. See what I'm saying? So events is a subgroup of Mailchimp. Okay. Now there is another thing that is interesting here. You can put people in this group any way you want, but there's these check marks here that are interesting. And for example, if you look at this person, Daniel Abshire, they have the check mark, right? And now if I open it, his profile, and if you look at him, it's basically, well, he has a valid email address and he has the MailChimp checkbox checked, right? So that makes that it can be synchronized with MailChimp. If you take Kenneth Abbott, actually, he does not have the check mark. It's not going to be synchronized with MailChimp. Actually, it's because if I open it, he has a valid email address, but he doesn't have the Mailchimp checkbox checked. So basically, that's also a good way for you to know, okay, the people that are here, they need to have the check mark here if they're gonna be receiving the Mailchimp message. Okay, so let me go back at something. So basically, where we were, right, is like we compose the message on Helpful Village, we hit send. So the next thing that happens when we hit send is like we're done. The message goes out automatically, and that's all good. But now, when Helpful Village is sending emails to groups, and this is the case here with the newsletter, right? Actually, Helpful Village is gonna contact your Mailchimp account, and Mailchimp is the one that's gonna be delivering the message for real, right? So we compose it on Helpful Village, but then Helpful Village asks Mailchimp, okay, put it there to send it. So now, well, I did that a little quick. So basically, I changed my tabs, right? And I came here, and this is Mailchimp. So this is my Mailchimp account. I just logged in to my Mailchimp account. If you have not logged in, yeah, you should. But basically, when Helpful Village, you hit send right from the email messenger to a group, Helpful Village will create a new message under campaigns. They call it campaigns, actually. That's the first thing I should say. In Helpful Village, call it email messenger because actually they're just emails, right? But MailChimp is a marketing tool, so they use this different kind of vocabulary sometimes. But in most cases, a campaign is just your email campaigns. Not totally true because you can have campaigns of other things, but in most cases, just the emails. So when Helpful Village, we hit send, it creates a message here under campaigns that you can see here. Yeah, newsletter August 2024. And if you click on it, he's gonna be taking all the information that we selected here, to who, from who, what is its object, and stuff like that. Um, Wait a minute, because we were doing some trials. I think this one. Yeah. You see, so this is the message when I hit send, it's going to create something like this. It's going to be sending to the test HV support team. That is what we selected on Helpful Village. It's going to be coming out from the default from address, the subject that we chose on Helpful Village. It's going to be sent. And you click edit design. It's the same message that we composed on Helpful Village, right? With the images. It's going to be retranscribed here, and they just send it. So basically, Helpful Village is copying the message into Mailchimp and asking Mailchimp to send the message out. Okay. So that's it. The message now went out to a group of people. So that's how you compose the message. You hit send, and then basically Mailchimp takes over, does the rest of the work, and just sends this message out. Make sense? I'm gonna pause for a second if there are any questions about how we got that message sent. But the next thing that I want to pause because I want to transition into the other method, which is sending the Mailchimp message, composing the newsletter message in Mailchimp. Okay, so you need to understand that I'm going to transition into this other option about how to create your Mailchimp message.
Manuel,
Yes.
I just want to repeat what I think I heard to make sure
Yes.
I got it. When you're doing it the way you just showed, you don't actually, once you've got Mailchimp account set up and all that, you don't have to go into Mailchimp. You just have to tell Helpful Village to send it via Mailchimp.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I like the clarification, and sometimes, saying it with different words it really helps. So it's really good.
Thank you.
So yeah, so if we go back here, right, there's these two methods, right? And this is what the advantage of this method. You don't need to log into Mailchimp. We're just showing you that the message was there, right, and recorded, but you don't have to go check. It's like it's easier not to log into a separate system.
Okay.
Now we're gonna show the other option. Sheila,
Question.
yes.
No? Okay.
Yes. I take the question, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So what you showed us was a very simple newsletter template.
Mm.
Are you planning on making a little more complicated templates, like with possible 2 columns?
Yeah.
And this one is also very short, doesn't hold that much information.
Sheila, I like the question a lot, but I think we should, show both options, and then we kind of answer that very same question at the end, because, we only do it if it's worth it. Is what I'm saying? If the other alternative is it's just so much easier, well, then we wouldn't. But my analysis of the situation is that, yeah, if you want to compose the newsletter in Helpful Village, it's gonna be most of the time kind of simple messages or a simple design. It's not always the case, because I wanted to show you the Northwest neighbors where they put a lot of effort into building it themselves, and it can be done, but it's kind of hard. And there are other kind of composing or kind of editor is a little easier. But let me show it to you, and then once I have shown all the information, we have the discussion. So okay, I'm gonna go. We have some slides here. I'm gonna show you with the slides first about what are the steps to create a newsletter or a message in Mailchimp, and then I'm also gonna do the live demo. Let's go. First, you log into Mailchimp, right? To your Mailchimp account, and then you go to campaigns, and this is where you're going to set up your messages. And when you're on the campaign, you click on the button that is on the right that is create a new campaign, right? And then basically, there's a couple of options, because you can create an automation, a website, a landing page, or something like that. This is what's a little complicated with Mailchimp. See, they have 25 different options. But you choose the email option, right? And then you give a title to your email. This title of the email, is internal to you. So that's why they say internal email name, because it's not the title that's going to be used in the email that goes out. It's just something for you to remember what this is about. But you give it a name, you click on what? Begin. And then when you click on begin, you get to this screen where basically you can do all the steps that you need to set up to send your campaign, your email message from Mailchimp out, right? So you need to say, who are you sending it to? It can be to the full list, but it can be to a sub-segment or a group or something from your list. From is usually set up for you, because when you created your Mailchimp account, it tells you from what. You need to choose a subject. So the subject is really the subject line for the email. So that's when you choose it. You can choose when does the email need to be sent. You can choose to send it right now, but you can also schedule it. We have noticed that sometimes in terms of marketing, it's better when people open that email in the morning, so you can schedule it to go out tomorrow morning because maybe more people will read it, or maybe you do it on afternoon or maybe at 3 p.m. It allows you to calculate when do you exactly want to send the email out. And then the last one is content, which is designing the editor of the content of the message, right? So I'm gonna demonstrate this in a demo. Okay, so first one is you can go here into, if you choose for the first field, it's the recipients, right? You choose an audience. You can have other audiences in Helpful Village. Helpful Village only, the one that synchronizes with our software it has to be called Helpful Village. Anything that happens outside of the audience called Helpful Village, our server doesn't know anything about that. So you would need to choose the Helpful Village audience. And then once you choose the audience, you can choose other things like subsegments and things like that. I will show you in the live demo. On the from field, you can say where is the email coming from, right? From Amigos Village, from the from email address. But this is usually set up by default already, so you don't need to change it. You need to choose a subject. It's gonna offer you two fields, a subject and a preview text that you can choose. The preview text is not as important, but it's kind of it appears in the inbox after the subject line. Sometimes Gmail or some customer emails show you the beginning of the email, so you can do something that it's not all that important. The subject is really important though. This is send time. You can schedule a time, as I said before. You can send it now, whatever you prefer, and you can choose a delivery date. If you want it to go tomorrow at 7 a.m., you can set that up in Mailchimp. This is maybe one of the most important slides because this is basically when you click on design the email, this is the editor. This is how you compose your message. This is how you drag and drop the elements on the left, right? If you want to add a text element or a picture element, and then for groups, etc. This is more drag and drop, and it's less tricky. Basically the editor is not gonna lose the alignment and stuff like that. So this is basically what makes the difference and why we recommend you create your Mailchimp, your newsletters on Mailchimp, is just because this editor is easier to use, and I'm gonna demonstrate it in the demo too. Mailchimp allows you also to connect with Facebook, X, and Instagram. So basically, when you send your message out, they can also automatically post a link to that newsletter on your Facebook account or Twitter or Instagram. And you don't need to, but it's a possibility. After you send your message out, another thing that is interesting with Mailchimp is that they give you, so imagine we send this message out, right? August 21st. This is actually our announcement for the Helpful Village webinar. We send it this way. And then basically they are calculating some statistics about how many people in the webinar opened it, right? So they had 166 recipients, 28% of the people that received the email actually opened the email. And then you can see how many people clicked links on that email. So basically something, marketing statistics that are interesting. It helps you see what is the content that you put on your newsletter or your title that works better. When is it that people open it more or less? And by the way, you even have more detailed information about who opened it, who did not, etc. So if you click on, sorry, let me go back. If you click on view report, just the box a little off, but if you click on view report in Mailchimp, right, it's going to give you these statistics. It's going to say, okay, we send the message to this many people, 166. And then 6 of them opened them. These many people clicked on them, bounced. These kind of well, this would be bad, but it's kind of our demo platform was sending to fake users, so it's not interesting. And then how many people unsubscribe? If you click on any of these numbers, it's going to give you the specific names of who opened the email, who was bounced, etc. And this other button here, which says 166, is another interesting one because that is all the people we send this email to. So if you have a member that is calling you back and saying, "Hey, I didn't receive the newsletter," the first thing you want to do is click on that number and see if we sent the email out to them. And then if they didn't receive it, well, you need to look up the contact information of that person, and then if they are unsubscribed or any other thing. But don't want to go into too much detail. If I click on that 166, this is an example of what I see. I can see the email address of the person I sent it to, and then they give you a rating and stuff like that. All of that is not as important, but you have the precise name of everyone we sent to. Okay, now I'm going to go into the live demo on Mailchimp, right? So this is what just showing the steps, but now we're going to do it together. Everyone ready? Okay, this is my Mailchimp account, right? For Helpful Village. And then basically here you have all these funny things here. So they have 20 different options. That's kind of one of the good reasons to do it from Helpful Village. You don't have all these extra bells and whistles. That is a little bit too much. But their composer is really good. So you come here, you can create or create, it's the same. Under campaigns, right? So I'm under campaigns, and these are past campaigns I have sent before. So actually, well, let me do it from the beginning. I can do create a new message. You can do automation landing page. If you want to send an email, design an email. Remember this. So this is, you choose who you're sending it to. So we want to send it to the audience that is called Helpful Village. And then you can choose different options here. You can send it to the all subscribers in the audience that will go to everyone that we have synchronized on Helpful Village. But you can do this more complicated stuff. You can send it to one of the tags we have from Helpful Village, right? To the donors, to test group, to any tag that you created, right? And you can even do something more complicated. You can do, let me see. You can do a new segment. And you can come, look at this. You can come here. We have Helpful Village create groups for you. So you can come here and say, okay, I want to send it to the members. And we have from Helpful Village all the active members. And I can send to all the active members, but also to all of active volunteers. You can say, well, I want to send to people that are both active members or active volunteers that are either members or volunteers. So this is what I was saying. When you can do the segmentation of the recipients, is a little complicated, so it can be a little scary, but it's also powerful. At the same time, just wanted to show you that it exists. You don't need to worry too much about that because in most cases, right, you come down here and just gonna choose the simpler option, which is all subscribers in this audience. Okay. And then you say save. Okay, from oh, this is interesting. But then basically is where you choose the email that is coming. This I'm surprised. These default settings of my Mailchimp are probably not good, but this is something that would go out from contact@helpfulvillage.com. You usually don't need to edit that if we did this right for you. Save, you choose a subject. It's really important to choose a good subject name. I'm not saying this one is the best, but it's but I'm not very creative now. Or you save this? This is good. Send time. I usually like setting the send time for later, because I don't know. I can schedule a time, right? Say send it tomorrow at whatever time, or I can send it now if I want, and then you can say send now. It's not gonna send it. This is usually why this is my last step. It's not gonna send it until you do send it from up here. But anyways, and now if we come here to content, this is where basically you come to the designer, and now they have two different email designers. Go with a new builder. And this is basically first, they have these multiple templates, right? As I said before, all they do is sending emails. So they have a ton more options of different templates you can use. So you can choose one of the templates if you want, or start from scratch. And then once you have that here, you can set the logo from your computer and stuff like that. Actually, let me do this. I'm just gonna show you the drag and drop options, right? So basically it's then I can, and then it's like this. And then you come to the next one. You can done. If you want to bring another of these elements here, you can drag and drop it here. So if I want to add a picture before or after, I can do it here. And then I can do the same. And then from the image, I can add an image from my computer. Oh, nice. I like this one. It's gonna upload or not? I don't know if I did something wrong. And then basically here you edit the text. Please take a minute to provide your feedback. And then if I want to add more text, for example, I would come down here, say, okay, I want to add another paragraph here. our stay in the conference, our presentation at the conference was great. I don't know why this picture did not come through. I probably forgot to say kind of insert. There you go. There you go. And then you keep going, right? And then when your message is ready, uh, say save and exit. And now my content is ready. You see, it's here. And then the next step is I click send. And when I click send, it goes out to the recipient. It's the last step. It goes out to people. Now I want to show you one more thing that I do because we created a message from scratch. But actually, most of the time, I don't create the message from scratch. What I do is that I send this message here is the Helpful Village Users Group August 21st reminder. It's a previous message I sent before. And then I can click on it. Actually, the way I do it is like this. I come here. Previous message I have sent before is actually this one. And then I can come to this arrow. I can say replicate. And replicate is actually cloning, right? And you see here the stats, 28% of the people open it, or 4 people clicked on it. Okay, fine. And then I do replicate. And when I do replicate, it's just copy pasting, right? A new version. So basically this would be a hug for September. I don't know what date. And so this is the internal title of the email. Doesn't matter. But already the good thing here is that everything is pre-selected for me. See what I'm saying? I had sent this message from our contact Helpful Village. I always send the message to a tag that we have that is called Helpful Village webinar tag, right? That is going to these people here. I already have the subject that is ready from last time join for our newsletter. So now there will be a different thing, right? Treasure training. Just save it. So instead of creating from nothing, you can create from the previous one you had before. And if I click edit design, now I'm just changing the clone, right? And then I come here, you see, this is the one that I sent to you a few days ago. And it has my logo, the initial template that we had with a reminder of the date. So I usually come here and just edit the previous message I sent. So basically this would be September 21st. And then if I had to change the date, this would be, say, imagine that it's 19. I have these little tricks where I type so that it just keeps the size of my font. And then if I want to change this image, I would come here and I can edit this image, replace the image with another image. And I'm going to say the same image we had before. You see? And then now this is how we are basically customizing. So imagine that this was our newsletter message. This is actually my Helpful Village release webinar announcement from last month. And then I can easily edit it with any given design and template. So you would do a good one message where you spend a lot of time, right? And then basically you clone it and to update the version for next week, for next month.
So Manuel, if you can drop, like drag and drop.
Yes.
Does that mean you could take a newsletter that you created in Word and basically move the whole thing in as it is?
Yeah, it's a good question. You can try. I don't think it's going to work really that well. It's good. It's a very good question because you can create a Word. I actually sometimes when writing and you have writers, right? It's not necessarily the same person that is going to write for your newsletter and the same person that's going to send it. So maybe you have your writers doing it on Word, which I like. It's like, okay, they don't need to cope with all these complexities and weird things of Mailchimp. But if they created a Word thing, you most of the time you would need to just, recreate it here. I don't think you can copy paste from Word into this. I don't think it would look good. You can try, but I don't think it's going to look good. You would, need to recreate the Word template here.
If you have a template that you create for your newsletter and you use the same format each time, can you drop in various pieces of it? Like if you created a paragraph in Word, just drop the paragraph in.
Oh, yeah. And now, I cloned it and now I just can drop anything I want here. So basically I can come here and say, okay, I want to drop a block here.
And where are those blocks coming from that you're dropping? Is that coming from your computer?
No, this is actually the Mailchimp editor.
So how do you get something in Word into the editor?
Yeah, good question. But it's like, but essentially, let me see if I have a Word document here. Okay, this is the weirdest Word document, but let me show you. So I have a Word document, right? This.
Hmm. So can you
Uh,
take one of those squares and
yeah, I can
take
take one of
just
these
that
squares.
piece?
Yeah, but then the thing is like if I take this square and then I go to Mailchimp and then go edit design, what am I doing? Oh, it's coming. So basically I can come here, right? But
Yeah.
I already drag and dropped a text component here. So I can come here, I'm gonna paste it, delete the content here, I'm gonna paste the thing that I got from Word, and this is the content that I had from Word. You see?
Okay.
Now, sometimes when you're copy pasting from Word, you see it brings along some weird stuff. You see this frame that it brought along,
Hmm.
and then basically sometimes there's some cleaning needed. So here, if you come to source,
Well, you
oh,
had a frame in your
oh,
document, so it
there's
brought
so
it
much
along.
crap that came along from Word. So I'm gonna undo what I did. Actually, I didn't like it too much. So let me change it. You see what I'm saying? We copy pasted from Word, and look, it brought a table of nonsense with whatever I don't like it. So I would recommend doing a different thing. Let me try this Word. Let me undo what I just said, right, of the copy paste because it brings so much crap from Word that I don't like it. So let's do it.
Hmm.
So we would take another text element. I'm gonna delete that one that I created before. I drag and drop a new one here. And then what I'm gonna do is that from Word, I have this, but then instead of copy pasting into Mailchimp, I'm gonna do another step, which is opening a text editor, which is like this. On a Mac, I use a Mac and this is text edit, but on Windows you can use something like Notepad or something like that. And then I'm gonna paste the text here on a text only editor. And
Okay.
from here I do it's kind of a little weird, I'm sorry, but then maybe copy this and then now I go into Mailchimp and that kind of removed all the crap that Word added, right? So I can come here, just
Yeah.
here, you see, and now I save it and you see it's a lot cleaner the second one I did. See?
Mhm.
This one has the
Okay.
Word crap, so I can delete it.
So
But
it's just taking the text and it's not taking any of the formatting or other commands
yeah,
that
yeah, exactly. But also sometimes, I mean, Microsoft Word does so much crap into the formatting. You know, they had a table of something, and I mean, all of this,
right.
there's more crap. So it's actually cleaner to go through, copy the text into a text-only editor, and then from the text-only
Okay.
editor, paste it into these
Thank
paragraph
you.
into mention.
Manuel,
Yes.
it looks like you can use Canva now to create newsletters and bring it into Mailchimp. Is that something that you would talk about?
I will not talk about, but because I have not tried it, but it sounds interesting. Definitely, Canva is an editor that you have.
Yeah.
Did they announce some? I mean, I know what Canva is, but I cannot talk about it because I have not tried the specific example copy pasting. So, do they have a special feature copy pasting from Canva into Mailchimp?
Well, I think you create it in Canva and then you
Uh-huh.
send it to Mailchimp.
Okay. Well,
So
yeah,
I haven't done it. I'm just
yeah, I
playing
haven't
with
done
it
it. So
now.
yeah, so I'm sorry. So basically, what I mean is that sounds interesting. It's definitely something I would like to try. See what I'm
I
saying?
do it all the time.
Yeah.
I make
Oh, well,
Oh,
then
something in
great.
Canva and you just import it into there,
okay.
import
Perfect.
it, and
Great.
it goes right into Mailchimp. So it
And
works
okay,
well.
perfect.
Okay. So I
I
just
have
spent
a
1 hour
question
of webinar
about,
for nothing. Just
can
kidding.
I
Mhm.
ask a question, please?
Yes. Yes.
When we're trying to save our newsletters to the website,
Yes.
Mailchimp does not really work with a PDF. I cannot put my newsletter into a PDF that looks anything remotely like what it looks like
Yeah.
online.
Yes.
How
Yes.
do you put something in a PDF, which is what is required on HV?
Yeah.
Could, on
Yeah.
Club Express, it's just a link.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it looks terrible. What do
Yes.
we do? What do people
So
do?
this is a good question. Let me show you. So basically, if you go here now, right, we send a message from Helpful Village or from Mailchimp, doesn't matter. But now you
Right.
go back to your website, right? And then if you go here to members and go to newsletters, there is a newsletter module inside Helpful Village. Actually, one thing you need to know is that you can add your newsletters to your website, which is good for people to find it. But also there is another additional benefit to it is that if you add more content, and this is very good content because it has the words about the village, has a lot of text, so Google really likes it. And for your Google referencing, see what I'm saying? If your Google results, it's great to bring that content onto your website, not only in Mailchimp, but bring it back here. So you can come here, right? And if you add new newsletter, basically here, let's say that it's a September newsletter. It's because I already have one for August. So September 2024, you can give it a subtitle, Village, uh, Village, California and national conferences, if that was the topic, right? Then you have the chosen display date. So this is basically when do you want the newsletter to be showing on your website. Actually, it's also used for sorting, right? What's sorting on what date. So let's say that we want this topic to come out on the 15th of September, random date, but that's it. And is it a PDF newsletter or not? Now, if you have a PDF, right, you can add a picture here for your newsletter and you can add a PDF. You have the PDF already, you can upload it here. Now, how did you get the PDF from? That's another challenge. You can generate a PDF. Some villages generate their newsletter on Microsoft Word, right? As we were saying before. Well, from Word is easy because you can say export this Word document as a PDF, you save it as a PDF, and then now you suddenly have a PDF for it. If you have it on Mailchimp and Mailchimp is not good enough to produce a PDF from it, well, we have some trouble. And I don't really have an answer about how to get a PDF
So,
out of it.
Manuel, what
Yeah.
Pete does for the village is he copies the Mailchimp email with the newsletter into Word.
Yeah.
Makes it
Yes.
page it, whatever he does to make it
Yeah.
look pretty, and then he saves it as a PDF, and then
Yeah.
we can load that up to the village.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
It's a lot of work. It takes him about
It's
an
a lot
hour
of
to do
work.
it.
I had to do that,
Yeah.
and I had to manually redesign the newsletter. It was
I know.
horrible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I have put in suggestions to Mailchimp like 5 times about being able to have them create the PDFs for us, but they haven't gotten to
Yeah.
that point yet.
Yeah. So now the interesting thing is we're discussing about this is a very good question. Ava, at the same time, obviously not a helpful village question. It's kind of more of a Mailchimp service, right? Are they able to produce a PDF? If they cannot, well, then there's nothing really I can do about it.
Right.
But it's great that you ask it because as we just saw, right? Maybe another village has a way to do it, right? Maybe from the original Word document, or maybe just copy pasting and rearranging thing. But it's a lot of work. I can
It's a lot
definitely
of
realize.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's 32 pages of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Absolutely. Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Then another thing that you can do here when on Helpful Village on the newsletter is that you can come here. I mean, I'm gonna save this. The August newsletter edit. Because now what we're doing also is that we're adding a content page for your newsletter here into Helpful Village, a web editor content page. This is also a new feature in Helpful Village. So you can always add the PDF right here. Where is it? Yeah. Choose upload the file and the picture. So we uploaded already a PDF here, right?
Right.
Example, and I can write the content. So if you can copy paste or have some HTML content here on your website, is good too, right? So in the August one, and then if I save that with the PDF and the content, then on your website, when people go to members newsletters, and then after newsletters, you have the August newsletter here. If you click on it, I mean, I'm an admin, so I can see the admin button here. People cannot see it. If you choose an image, we'll choose that image here for your newsletter. If you did a village party, right, you can add the picture of the village party. It's going to show here. And then if you click on it, you can also display if there is content, right? It's going to show the content of the website here. And this is what I was saying that is good for Google, right? Because now all of this is good searchable content for Google. And then and if you added a PDF document, right, to that same newsletter item, people that come here, if they click on this button, they can also download the PDF version if they prefer reading the PDF. So if you don't have the PDF, I mean, if you have the PDF, I would say upload it there and it will show like this for people to download. If you don't have the PDF, we are now introducing a new feature where you can put the content as a web content like you see here, basically.
Okay.
Now, still a bunch of challenges because, if you have the web content on Mailchimp, is it gonna allow it to copy paste into Helpful Village that easily? Maybe not. Maybe it takes some work, etc. Maybe you want to do it. Maybe you don't want to do it. But it's pros and cons. One of the pros is good to have the content on your website. The cons is like, oh God, if you need to format it, in Word and then format it for Mailchimp and then format it back here. There's a lot of formatting work. Just you need to try what works best for you, but definitely sending it out in the best way possible, which in my opinion, sending out through Mailchimp is interesting. And then if you can catch that content and put it back on your website, that's interesting too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're going past the hour for several minutes. I don't like doing that too much, and also I'm just reaching the end of the content I had for our training session. I think it was interesting. There was a question before. Sheila, you're still on the call? Yeah, about if we're gonna spend more time. I would say my recommendation is just try this method that we were discussing today. If you can compose your newsletter on Mailchimp, if that works for you, I think is what's best. Because it just if you have your people trying with the editor for the newsletter every week, if they're not trained enough to manage the Helpful Village editor, they're gonna struggle with it. I think it's just easier to do it this way. So,
One of our editors is actually here. She's been listening.
oh, perfect. The one that was not on the plane.
Not on the plane, that's right. She's been here. Other show.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So
Okay, we'll work on it again. Thank you.
perfect. And then I don't know if we have any other questions. I would say it's probably better not to have the questions now because we're meeting again next week, right? And we have a dedicated Q&A. So if you have tried all of these new features, we can happily answer your questions next week when we meet for the Q&A.
Okay.
Gary, you're on next week too, right, Gary?
I am, and I already have some questions written down for you
Ah, perfect. Okay, we'll
on
take care of that.
newsletters.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you, everybody. The
Thank you.
webinar will be recorded. We're gonna be posting it to YouTube and Slack as we usually do. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.